In an exclusive interview with News 9, for the first time, we are talking with the State Department of Education board members who reported seeing inappropriate content on the television in the office of State Superintendent Ryan Walters. Joining us, Becky Carson and Ryan Dethridge. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And we are also joined by a third board member, Mike Tinney, who was in the room and says he witnessed how Ryan Walters reacted when being called out about these images on Walters TV.
First, we're going to start with you, Becky, and Ryan, because you were there. You saw what was on the TV. Becky, can you just kind of set the scene for me and how you saw these images on the television of the state superintendent?
Yes, we had, we're in the middle of our executive meeting. At the beginning, we had a parent that had presented about a transfer and also a superintendent. They had left the room. Ryan and I were sitting on the table that would have been visible to the TV. We had continued to talk about some revocation of certificates for teachers. I had noticed the TV was on when I first came in the room, but I really didn't pay much attention to what it was on it because it's been on before. The sound was not on, and I just was focused on doing the business we needed to do. And so at one point, after they left and we were talking about these issues, I had to make eye contact in that direction, and I was kind of in shock. I was like, what am I seeing? Are those women naked? And then, you try to convince yourself that you're not seeing what you're seeing. And I was like, maybe they're wearing a bodysuit. And so I'm like, let me really get a detailed look here. So I kind of moved forward a little bit, and I was like, no, they are fully unclothed women's body parts were visible.
So frontal nudity,
yes.
Could see
Yes.
on the television there. Yes. And Ryan, you were sitting right next to Becky. Were you observing the same thing?
I was sitting to the left of Becky, and I had probably seen it further on. I had actually noticed it the first time while the mother was talking to us about the transfer. I was in shock. I was trying to figure out how to bring it up without embarrassing the whole board while this parent was in there. Really also kind of thinking, surely this is just going to go off and we'll be done and we'll have a conversation afterwards man to man and just say, hey, I saw this, but it just continued. And time we got through all of that is when Miss Carson had actually made her comment. And
So describe the video again. Now, you knew clearly these were naked women. You described the video as being retro. It was kind of an older video, and that was obvious?
That was correct. It was an older video. It was more grainy. It wasn't vibrant in color. It was, I relate it maybe to Three's Company time frame, maybe MASH time frame. I could be off on that, but I'm just saying that was the kind of things. The style of the other clothing, that the ones that had clothes on, kind of reminded me of a wide red and white striped shirt. And one image I have in my mind is a guy's got a white hat, kind of a Gilligan type hat, a boonie type hat, I think you would call it possibly.
And so when does the shock wear off that you're seeing naked images, and then it's ready to say, kind of, what the heck's going on here?
I don't know that it actually wore off for me until we left. So after the comment Ms. Carson had made, I don't recall who made the comment. He did whatever he did, and he came back. Well, what I mean by that is he executed the TV to be
the
turned
state
off.
Superintendent
The state superintendent turned off the TV at some. I don't even know if he turned it off or changed the channel. To be honest with you, I don't recall.
Let's just kind of jump back to, because Becky, you were the one who was vocalizing disgust or shock of what was going on. Tell me, what did you say? How firm was that? And what happened? What was the interaction after that?
It was pretty firm. And I've gone back over it in my head to think, if this had just been, the TV was a distraction, I probably would have just leaned over and said, hey, you want to go turn that TV off? It's a distraction. But I was in such a shock of what I was seeing, and to the point of almost feeling violated of what I was seeing, that I wouldn't say go on in the attack, but I kind of basically treated him like a 15-year-old son.
What'd you say?
I said, what am I watching? What is on your TV? Get it off now.
And what did he do? What did he do?
He was kind of looked at me, and then he turned around and he said, oh my gosh, what is that? He goes, I've got to get that off. And he stood up, picked up the remote, and then he was like, I can't get it off. And he's fidgeting with it. And I said, get it off immediately. Get it off now.
Was his reaction the shock that you guys were feeling?
I don't think it was shock of the reaction of what he was seeing. I think it was his reaction to, I compare it to a teenage kid that's been caught doing something wrong.
And Ryan and Mike, do you corroborate that interaction? I mean, did Becky describe that as to the state superintendent's reaction in the room?
I did not see his reaction. I think I probably grabbed my forehead and head fell because it was like, oh my gosh. I obviously knew what she was talking about because I had seen it. And I think I probably kind of dropped my head, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And I don't know how to describe that. That was a shock factor that I don't know how to describe it, except it was a shock factor. And anyway.
And
Mike?
yeah, go ahead.
These are very serious things we discussed in there. We were deep into our discussions, thinking about things that affected people's lives, and just suddenly, as she said, Becky exclaimed, oh my gosh, what is that? What is that? Those are naked people. And she said, go turn that off. And Mr. Walters just quickly turned around, looked at it, and got out of his chair very rapidly. I couldn't hear what he said, and I couldn't see where the TV was or what he did over there. But he went over there and apparently turned it off. He came back down, sat down in his chair, didn't say anything. And we were just kind of all looked at each other like, what just happened? And then we just went back to work. Someone said something and said, had a question on the case, and we went right back to the case.
Okay.
I think we are so grateful for your talking with us today here on News 9, and we're going to continue more of this conversation.
Much more to come throughout our 4 o'clock newscast. We appreciate you all being here. Coming up, more on our conversation with these 3 OSDE board members, and we also get their reaction on Ryan Walters' call for them to resign. Keep it here on News 9.
And more of our conversation now with the 3 board members who were at the State Department of Education meeting last Thursday. 2 of the members we've been talking with tell News 9 they saw nude images on the television of State Superintendent Ryan Walters. We are going to talk with them in a moment, but first, the news conference from Ryan Walters yesterday, basically with a bombshell of allegations from the state superintendent about the board members and even the governor.
Here's what Ryan Walters had to say in front of Governor Stitt's office yesterday.
We will continue to ensure that these board members are held accountable. They should resign immediately in disgrace for the lies that they've told. And we should get back to work for the people of Oklahoma.
All right, when you hear that, Ryan Walters saying that the 3 of you should resign, not fit to do the job, how does it make you feel? Let's get your reaction.
Well, I think my immediate reaction would be as anybody's reaction would whose character's been defamed in the public eye on TV. I do not plan on resigning at all. And the one thing that him and I can agree on is I hope we can get back to work to do the job that we were put there to do.
Ryan, this is the first time that you've heard any of that news conference from the state superintendent. What is your initial reaction for his demeanor and the words that he said?
I was watching it on the monitor here in front of me, and I kind of take that personal. I think a normal person would take that personal. I take it as a privilege to serve the citizens of Oklahoma, but more importantly, the 700,000 students that are out there in Oklahoma. And I'm there to serve them. And until the governor actually asked me to step off that board or some other circumstance, I'm going to stay and serve those children of Oklahoma.
What do you say to the fact that Ryan Walters basically was saying he was questioning, did the governor direct you board members to come up with this plan? Becky, what do you say to that?
Unequivocally no. It's almost ludicrous that statement was said. I've never been asked by the governor to do anything except for serve on this board.
Mike, your thoughts on this being a huge conspiracy against Ryan Walters?
It's absolute nonsense. That there's nothing whatsoever from the governor. Even in a world, if that existed, if some world where that might have happened, none of us would have done it anyway. I mean, that would have been a wrong thing to do. And I would like to add, in help of my colleagues here, that when I heard what he had said about them, I was kind of thinking, okay, I didn't see it. Maybe I'm off the hook a little bit. But when I heard what he said about them, I said, I'm going to go with them because I know they are honest people. They're my colleagues. They would never lie. And I wanted to make sure that people know that about them.
Yeah, I'm sure it hurt yesterday, what you guys listening to what he had to say.
It was hard. It was difficult.
I mean,
I'm still trying to absorb some of that as hearing the first time of that. I think probably Governor Stitt probably has better things to do than to talk to Ryan Dethridge.
Mm-hmm. All right. We, again, are grateful for you being here and telling us about what happened at the State Department of Education, the meeting inside the superintendent's office. And we will continue our conversation with these 3 board members and more on the comments made by the state superintendent.
That's coming up in our next block.
It is definitely an understatement to say the past few days have been stressful for our guest as we continue our conversation with the State Department of Education board members. And if we could just maybe start back with you, Becky, about can you kind of just tell us the emotional part of all this over the last week?
I think I've experienced every emotion there is to have about the situation. You know, from anger to disbelief to shock to hurt that somebody would go this far, you know. But I also will say that, you know, on Friday when all this came out, I went about doing my business and still continue to work for the state of Oklahoma, ensuring that, you know, children are getting the education that they deserve and teachers feel supported, answering emails, talking to superintendents. So even amidst all that pain and hurt, I still continue to do my job.
Right.
I still work a full-time job, so I'm trying to carry that load with this on my shoulders as well. I would say our community, I would say surprisingly several superintendents, quite a few superintendents, teachers across the board, people I don't have a clue who they are.
Yeah. Well, I want to get a take from all 3 of you just on why you decided to come forward and spend this much time with us here on the air and not just release a statement, which you could have done. You could have said, you know, I'm going to stay out of this. This is the statement. This is what I saw. Do with that news as you will. But you guys decided to be here, spend part of your day with us. Why was that important to do so? Go ahead, Becky.
It wasn't an easy decision, I mean, to do. And at no point have any of us said that he has done anything wrong. We just reported what we saw and what occurred, his reaction to it, what we saw. And I think my main reason was, one, is we're sitting in an executive meeting where we're looking at teachers' revocations of their certificates, and sometimes for even lesser offenses. And I think accountability is important. And if we're going to hold teachers accountable, which I absolutely think we should, everybody should be held accountable for their actions. But if we're going to hold teachers accountable, then we have to put the people that are in leadership accountable as well. So that was my main reason in doing it. The other reason was because, you know, I said it before, I was exposed to images that are out of my norm. You know, I'm a Christian woman. I don't expose myself to that. I didn't give permission to be exposed to that or my consent to be exposed to that. So that was the second reason. You know, and in the last few days, I've heard from countless people. I mean, hundreds of people. And something that continues to be kind of the same comment is, and especially from women, is, you know, what's happening right now is the same reason that women don't report abuse. So there became another reason for my why.
People are offering you a place to stay.
Okay, places to stay, yes. I've heard from previous students. I've heard from parents, from things dropped off at my house, flowers and gifts. And that brings up a good point. One of the things that is resounding in a lot of the messages is thank you for stepping up, thank you for doing the right thing, but they've also called me a hero. And I don't necessarily want to be a hero, especially in this situation. You know, my getting into this, I didn't take this position lightly. You know, it was well thought out, I was prayed about, it was contacting, you know, my family and asking what they thought, and most of their responses were, if anybody can make change, you can. And so, you know, I don't take my position lightly.
I think, too, there have been so many comments online, good and bad, and we'll continue talking with our panel about all that they've endured after that meeting from last week. And when we come back here on News 9, more from Ryan Walters and his allegation that the governor put these board members to disrupt everything and even lie about what they saw at that State Department of Education board meeting. It's coming up. And welcome back as we continue our conversation here on News 9 in an exclusive interview with board members who were at the State Department of Education's executive session last week with Superintendent Ryan Walters, and two of our guests today telling us that they did see inappropriate images on the television there inside the executive office of Ryan Walters. Thank you so much again for being with us today.
Yeah, I want to take you back to the moment. We're going to hear from more of what Ryan Walters had to say coming up, but I do want to take you kind of back to that Thursday morning in executive session. You see these images. It's clear what they are. You're looking at nude women during an executive meeting here, and you're in shock. But at the same time, you're a little surprised by Ryan's behavior, Ryan Walters' behavior. Why were you surprised? Because he seemed to be, as you put it, unapologetic.
I would say I was more than a little surprised. You know, it was almost as bad as what I saw, his reaction to it. If that, let's, you know, go back to me being in the classroom. This was before Kid YouTube and all that was available. And if I wanted to show a YouTube video that went along with my teaching, you can't help sometimes that a ticker might come under there and might have a foul language on it, and you're getting it off as quick as possible. And if it ever did happen, I immediately apologized to the children, and I would call parents and say, you know, they may have seen this. I apologize. This happened. And there was none of that from him. You know, nobody's saying it was him that did anything, but it did happen in his office, and it was his TV. And even if he didn't do anything, you know, just the simple of, oh my gosh, I have no idea how that got there, because he did acknowledge in his reaction that there was something inappropriate on that TV. And so, you know, just say, I have no idea how that got there. I will get to the bottom of it. And Ms. Carson, you especially, I apologize that you had to be exposed to that.
Ryan?
I would have expected, I did expect, the way we transitioned from that incident back into our meeting, it was...
Was it abrupt?
It was abrupt, but it was like he sat back down and we just went on. We just, like, nothing ever happened.
Was there any thought to say, hey, what just happened there? Could we take a moment? Could we pause for a second?
I wish I could say that I could remember that, but I think things happened at a pace and a shock factor that, you know, unless you were there, I don't know I can't give a great answer why we didn't stop and talk about it. I think it was our board attorney that said, you'll have to check me here, but I think he said, hey, let's just get back to the business. And so we took his role and we just went right back into discussing what we did.
I wanted to ask you, because Becky, you were the one who reported it to OMES. Did you all have a conversation like, I need to report this to authorities? Did you take that on your own to do that?
I did that on my own.
Why'd you do that and not maybe even consult Ryan?
Because I thought it was important that there was a thorough investigation. And I knew that was the only way possible for it to get investigated. And again, we're holding, you know, educators to that high standard. We got to hold our leaders to that same standard.
So there was no big group meeting discussion?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
That Ryan Walters alleges that you guys kind of working together
Absolutely
to disrespect him.
It is interesting that the news conference from the state superintendent yesterday was directly in front of the governor's office at the state capitol. We've mentioned in that news conference, Ryan Walters called for the board members who are joining us today to resign, but he had harsh words and questions about who was behind all this. Here is what he said, and we'll get our panel's discussion and reaction after.
These board members have a lot to answer for, and so does the governor of the state of Oklahoma. Did he direct these board members to lie about me? Did he direct his board members to go in and disrupt everything in these board meetings? Did he have the board fight against bringing private schools into the state for families to have school choice? What exactly directives were they given?
So your reaction that this was the governor's plan and that political attack included nude images on Ryan Walters' TV during an executive meeting that you guys were all present at?
That's just about as false as...
Ludicrous is what I said earlier.
I agree, it's ludicrous. I think that's just a red herring thrown out there to try to deflect the blame.
Just for the record, because he accused you of lying.
Yes.
Are you lying today? Are you being truthful about what happened? And is there any inch of any validity to what he is accusing you all now of doing?
I'm telling the absolute truth of what happened that day, what I saw, my words, his reaction.
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
I saw what I saw, and I've stated what I saw.
Yes.
How do you guys
Stand by it.
How do you move forward?
This is what I would say. I think that it's no secret that we're 50th in the U.S. now for education. I think that Superintendent Walters is actually very blessed in the fact that he has a board that is willing to roll their arms up, roll their sleeves up, and try to dig in to find out why we're number 50th. You know, my goal would be that we're going to walk back in there to that next board meeting. And yes, it's probably going to be intense, and I can't help that. But so is being number 50th in the state.
How do you reconcile that this is the discussion we are having today instead of what you're talking about? We were just downgraded to number 50.
We want to. I feel very comfortable speaking on behalf of the other several of the other members. Let me put it that way. The two that are other besides here, and I know Chris would feel the same way. We want to dig in, and we want to find resolutions. We want to find solutions. We want to look at innovation. We want to try to find out what's out there. We want to be obviously not number 50th. Right. We want to move that. We want to move that ball. What I would love to see is a comprehensive plan put together that says these are the matrix that we're going to take to move this metric from 50th to whatever goal that we think we can get this next year. And let's have a comprehensive plan, and with measurable devices, measurable items that we can grasp hold of and say we can do this. And I know that I'm committed to the students of Oklahoma to try to move that ball, and I think my other fellow board members are as well. And that's what I want to do. I want to focus on that. I obviously would like to see some kind of resolution of whoever and however that was on there. I would like to see that resolved. But more importantly, I would like to see us move that ball from 50th to a higher. I want to move our score. That's what I'm here for.
That is definitely.
That is our only goal.
It is
that is our goal.
A noble, desired outcome there. You mentioned about the investigation. One interesting note from the news conference yesterday, the state superintendent, Ryan Walters, said he has been cleared by the Oklahoma County Sheriff. I actually interviewed the sheriff this morning here on News 9, who says that's simply not true. You'll hear from Sheriff Tommy Johnson from Oklahoma County, what he told us coming up.
Well, we all heard from Ryan Walters yesterday in front of Governor Stitt's office there with his news conference, saying that this is all just a bunch of lies and a political attack on him and his character. He also said that he was cleared in the investigation by OMES and also Sheriff Tommy Johnson with the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. And Robin, I know you interviewed Tommy Johnson.
Yes, so we called Sheriff Tommy Johnson from Oklahoma County. We asked him to come in and do an interview with us on Wednesday morning, and he told us the investigation is just beginning and that the state superintendent has not been cleared. Here's what Sheriff Johnson told us.
The investigation is still going on, very much in the infancy stages of the investigation. And you know, when you hear claims like this, I mean, I really think that tarnishes the respect and the, what we have earned as an agency with how we conduct business and how we operate professionally. I am not on anyone's side. I don't care who supports you, who doesn't support you. I only want to ensure that the facts are the only thing that are represented at the end of the day.
That is the Oklahoma County Sheriff Tommy Johnson talking about this is just actually day 2 into the investigation as to what was being played on Ryan Walters TV at the Department of Education. And our panel here, what do you think about what the sheriff said about he doesn't care one side or another, he just wants the facts? Do you care about the outcome? Is there something you want to see from this investigation?
I want to watch the investigation play out to its fullest, and whatever happens, I'm good with either. I want to go back to business. I just want the investigation to continue and be thorough.
Do you think the truth is going to be revealed in this investigation, or in a month's time, are we just like, well, we've got other challenges and we're going to hit those, and maybe we'll never get to the bottom of this? Are we going to get to the bottom of this, you think?
I have no idea. And I have no idea.
I can't speculate that. However, I think the people of this state are demanding it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're looking at social media, they're demanding accountability. They're demanding answers.
Mike, what did you want to say?
The same thing. I just want them to get to the truth. If he didn't do anything wrong, so be it. If he did, we want it to come out. I hope and pray that the truth is found. I know there's opportunities to always do damage control, so we don't know what would happen there, but we think these folks are going to do a good job. And like I say, if whatever is true, that's all we want. We just want to know the facts, and I think nearly everybody else does too.
All right, and the big question too is, where do we go from here? What will the outcome of this be? Coming up, how will the panel face Ryan Walters at the next meeting that is just a few weeks away? We're talking with them right after this. The next time this panel will be seeing Ryan Walters face to face will be on August 28th at the next State Department of Education meeting as we end our time with you. Becky, how do you think that meeting is going to go? What's your heart going to be going into that meeting?
Again, I can't speculate what's going to happen, but I know that I will go into it with an open mind and also with the dedication I had the day I started until now. I know that I'm there to help students and to help teachers, and that's my job. I don't have any vendetta against him. I tell students all the time, sometimes we have to do hard things.
Mm-hmm. Ryan?
Likewise, it's tough to stand in the gap and do what's right. And what's right is to go into that boardroom and conduct myself in a professional manner and to take care of the business of the students of Oklahoma.
Mike?
I agree. My philosophy is we have a job to do. That job is an important job. We need to focus on our job and not focus on feelings that things, if we were done wrong or something like that. We need to focus on the kids and doing our job, and just let some things like a duck roll off, water off our back.
So, Ryan, we are almost out of time, but a final message that you would want to say to Oklahomans about, just what's transpired at the Board of Education. Can parents be hopeful? Their kids going to school?
I think parents need to understand that this board is working for them. I think the parents of Oklahoma needs to understand that we are trying to move that bar from the 50th up the ladder, and we want to do that. We want to hear from them. We want to do what we think is right.
All right. Hey, thank you all for being here and spending so much time with us. And I know this is tough talking about this for so long, and we really appreciate you being here.
Becky Carson, Ryan Dethridge, and Mike Tinney, thank you for your time today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.